Every human being lives in the same world, yet no two people experience it in the same ways. Some see obstacles everywhere. Others see openings hidden inside those same obstacles. Some feel stuck. Others feel challenged. Some give up. Others begin. This difference is not created by circumstances alone. It is created by the mind. The way a person thinks becomes the lens through which life is understood. A weak lens magnifies problems. A powerful lens reveals possibilities. Life does not promise ease, it presents uncertainty, pressure, failure, and unexpected change. These are not rare events. They are part of the human journey. But what truly shapes a person is not what happens. It is how that person interprets what happens. There are people who break under pressure, and there are people who rise because of it. There are people who see failure as proof that they cannot succeed, and there are people who see failure as information guiding them forward. The difference lies in mental strength. A powerful mind does not ignore reality. It does not pretend that problems do not exist. Instead, it faces reality directly, but refuses to be limited by it. It searches, questions, analyzes, and reshapes meaning. Where most people see an ending, a powerful mind looks for a beginning. Where others feel blocked, it looks for another path. Where others feel defeated, it asks what can still be done. This way of thinking is not reserved for a special group of people. It is not about being born different. It is about learning to think differently. Throughout history and in everyday life, examples of this mindset can be found everywhere. A person who grows up with limited resources yet builds a meaningful life, not because conditions were perfect, but because they refused to see limitations as permanent. A student who struggles in the beginning but improves steadily, not because learning became easier, but because they changed how they approached difficulty. Individual who faces rejection again and again yet continues forward, refining, adjusting, and eventually succeeding. These are not stories of luck. They are stories of perspective. This book is built on a simple but powerful idea. Problems are not the end of the road. They are part of the road. Within every problem, there is always something that can be used, understood, or transformed. Powerful minds are trained to look for that. Do not waste energy asking why life is unfair. They invest energy in asking what can be done next. They do not wait for perfect conditions. They work with what is available. They do not fear mistakes. They study them. This approach does not remove struggle, but it changes its role. Struggle becomes a teacher instead of an enemy. This book will explore how this mindset works, how it is developed, and how it can be applied in real situations. Each chapter will focus on a different aspect of thinking with clear explanations and real-life examples. Goal is not to create unrealistic motivation, but to build a practical understanding of how powerful thinking operates, because once you begin to see differently, you begin to act differently, and when your actions change, your results follow. Journey does not start when problems disappear. It starts when your way of seeing them changes. That is where true strength begins. Chapter 1. The difference between seeing and understanding. Most people believe they see reality clearly, but what they actually see is only their interpretation. Two individuals can stand in the same situation, experience the same event, face the same difficulty, yet walk away with completely different conclusions. One feels defeated, the other feels challenged. One sees a wall, the other sees a door. This difference is not created by the situation itself. It is created by the mind that observes it. Seeing is automatic. Understanding is intentional. Seeing happens through the eyes. Understanding happens through thought. And powerful minds are defined by how they understand. A normal reaction to a problem is immediate judgment. This is bad. This is unfair. This should not be happening. That reaction feels natural, but it often blocks deeper thinking. Powerful minds slow down this reaction. They do not rush to label. They begin to question what exactly is happening, what can be learned from this, what options still exist. This shift from reaction to reflection creates clarity. Consider a real-life example. Two students receive low marks in an important exam. The first student feels embarrassed. They think they are not intelligent. They lose confidence, and they begin to avoid effort. The second student feels disappointed as well, but instead of stopping there, they analyze their mistakes. They review where they lost marks. They change their study method. They seek help where needed. The result is not immediate success, but steady improvement. The difference between these two students is not intelligence, it is interpretation. One sees failure as identity, the other sees it as information. That single difference changes the future. Powerful minds understand that events do not define them, their response to events does. Another example can be seen in the workplace. Two employees are given critical feedback by their manager. The first employee takes it personally. They feel attacked, they become defensive, and they distance themselves from improvement. The second employee listens carefully, even if it is uncomfortable, and asks what can be improved. They take notes, they adjust their approach, and over time their performance grows stronger. Both receive the same feedback, but only one used it as a tool. Understanding requires emotional control. When emotions take over, thinking becomes narrow. Fear focuses only on danger. Anger focuses only on blame. But powerful minds learn to stay steady long enough to think clearly. They do not ignore emotions. They simply do not allow emotions to control their interpretation. This ability is built over time. It begins with awareness. When something difficult happens, instead of reacting instantly, pause for a moment. Notice your first thought. Is it negative? Is it limiting? Is it closing possibilities? Then challenge it. Ask yourself, is this the only way to see this? That question alone opens new directions. Let us look at another situation. A small business faces a sudden drop in customers. The owner, who reacts emotionally, may think the market is bad. Nothing can be done. This is the end. But an owner who seeks understanding looks deeper. They study customer behavior. They ask for feedback. They explore what has changed. They might discover new needs, new preferences, or gaps in their service. Instead of closing down, they adjust. They improve their product. They change their strategy. They reach new customers. Problem becomes a source of direction. Powerful minds treat problems as signals. Every difficulty carries information. It may show a weakness, a gap, or a need for change. Ignoring the problem leads to stagnation. Understanding it leads to growth. Everyday example. Imagine two people stuck in traffic. The first person becomes frustrated, angry, and stressed. They focus on what they cannot control. The second person accepts the situation and uses the time differently. They might listen to something useful, reflect on their day, or plan their next steps. The traffic is the same, but the experience becomes completely different. This shows a simple truth. Understanding transforms experience. It does not remove the situation, but it changes its impact. Powerful minds are not always positive. They are aware. They recognize reality clearly, but they also recognize possibility within that reality. They do not deny problems, they explore them. They do not avoid difficulty, they engage with it. Over time, this approach builds strength. Each challenge handled with understanding increases confidence. Not the confidence that everything will go perfectly, but the confidence that whatever happens can be handled. This is real confidence. It is built through experience, through reflection, and through repeated effort to understand rather than react. There is another important aspect. Powerful minds do not look for quick conclusions. They are patient with complexity. They know that not every problem has an immediate answer, but every problem can be explored. This patience prevents panic, and when panic is removed, thinking becomes clearer. Clear thinking leads to better decisions, and better decisions shape better outcomes. In contrast, a reactive mind jumps to conclusions. It simplifies situations too quickly, often in a negative way. This leads to poor decisions, missed opportunities, and repeated mistakes. Understanding requires effort. It is easier to react. It is harder to reflect. But that effort creates long-term advantage. Think about people who achieve consistent growth in life. They are not free from problems. They simply process them differently. They look deeper, they think longer, and they act more deliberately. This chapter introduces a foundation. The difference between seeing and understanding. Seeing is passive, understanding is active. Seeing accepts the surface, understanding explores what lies beneath. And in that exploration, solutions begin to appear. The more you train your mind to understand, the more you will notice opportunities hidden inside difficulties. The world does not change instantly, but your experience of it does. And that is where transformation begins. Chapter 2. The psychology of problem thinking and solution thinking. Human mind is designed to protect, not to empower. Its first instinct is to detect danger, to avoid risk, and to keep you within what feels safe. This is why most people naturally focus on problems. A problem signals discomfort, uncertainty, and possible failure. The mind reacts quickly. It asks, what if things go wrong? What if I cannot handle this? What if I fail? These questions are not useless. They are part of survival, but when they dominate thinking, they limit growth. Problem thinking is not just about noticing difficulty. It is about becoming trapped in it. Person caught in problem thinking keeps repeating the same patterns. They focus on what is missing, what is unfair, what is not working. Their attention stays fixed on obstacles over time. This creates a mental habit. The brain becomes trained to search for more problems. And what the brain searches for, it finds. This is why some people feel surrounded by difficulty. Even in ordinary situations, their thinking pattern filters reality in a negative way. Solution thinking works differently. Does not ignore problems. It simply does not stop at them. It acknowledges the difficulty, then shifts attention toward possibility. Instead of asking only what is wrong, it asks what can be done. This shift may seem small, but it changes the entire direction of thought. Let you understand this through a real example. A young graduate struggles to find a job with problem thinking. The thoughts may look like this: there are no opportunities, the market is bad, others are more qualified, nothing will work. These thoughts create discouragement, and discouragement reduces effort. Person applies less, prepares less, and slowly loses confidence. Now, consider solution thinking in the same situation. The thoughts change direction. What skills are in demand? What can I improve? Who can I learn from? How can I stand out? The situation is still difficult, but the response becomes active. The person starts learning new skills, building connections, and improving their approach over time. This creates movement, and movement creates opportunity. The psychology behind this difference is attention. Where attention goes, energy follows. If attention is locked on problems, energy is consumed by worry. If attention is directed toward solutions, energy is used for action. Another important factor is belief. Problem thinking often comes with limiting beliefs. I cannot do this. This is too hard. This will never work. These beliefs act like barriers. They stop effort before it begins. Solution thinking replaces these with constructive beliefs. This is difficult but possible. I can learn this step by step. There must be a way forward. These beliefs do not guarantee success, but they allow progress, and progress is what leads to results. Consider another everyday example. Two friends want to start a small business. First friend focuses on risks. What if we lose money? What if customers do not come? What if we fail? These concerns are real, but they become the only focus. As a result, no action is taken. The idea remains only an idea. The second friend also sees the risks, but thinks differently. Can we start small? How can we test the idea? What is the minimum we need to begin? This approach breaks the problem into manageable steps. Instead of being overwhelmed, they begin with what is possible. Even if the business does not succeed immediately, they gain experience, knowledge, and clarity. This is how solution thinking builds growth. Over time, there is also a neurological aspect to this. The brain strengthens the patterns it uses repeatedly. If you repeatedly think in a problem-focused way, Those neural pathways become stronger. It becomes easier to feel stuck and harder to see options. If you repeatedly practice solution thinking, new pathways develop. It becomes easier to look for answers and harder to remain helpless. This is why powerful minds are not accidental. They are trained through repeated thinking patterns. Another important element is emotional impact. Problem thinking increases stress. When the mind sees only obstacles, it triggers fear and anxiety. These emotions reduce clarity and make decision-making harder. Solution thinking reduces this intensity, not by removing the problem, but by creating a sense of control. When you believe something can be done, even a small step, your mind becomes calmer, and a calm mind thinks better. Let us take another example. A person faces a financial setback. Problem thinking leads to panic. I am in trouble. This is too much. I cannot recover. This panic may lead to poor decisions, like avoiding the issue or making impulsive choices. Solution thinking approaches the same situation differently. What is the exact problem? What expenses can be reduced? What income options can be explored? This does not remove the difficulty, but it creates direction. Direction reduces fear, and with reduced fear, better decisions become possible. It is important to understand that solution thinking is not blind. Positivity does not mean ignoring risks or pretending everything is easy. It means facing reality clearly while still searching for ways to respond effectively. Powerful minds combine awareness with action. They see the problem fully, but they refuse to stay there. They move forward mentally before they move forward physically. This mental movement is the beginning of all progress. Another subtle difference is language. The words a person uses in their mind matter. Problem thinking uses language that closes possibilities. This is impossible. This will never work. There is no way. Solution thinking uses language that opens space. What? If there is a way, how can this be done? What is the next step? These small changes in internal language influence thinking direction over time. They reshape mindset. Let us consider one more real-life situation. An athlete loses an important competition. With problem thinking, they may focus on failure. I lost. I am not good enough. Others are better. This creates self-doubt and may reduce future performance. With solution thinking, they review the performance. Where did I lose advantage? What can be improved? How can I train better? This approach turns loss into preparation. Many great athletes became stronger after defeat, not because losing felt good, but because they used it correctly. The same pattern applies in every area of life: education, career, relationships, personal growth. The mind can either trap you in the problem or guide you toward a solution. The choice is not always easy, but it is always available. At first, it requires conscious effort. You have to catch your thoughts, redirect them, and practice new patterns. But with time, it becomes natural. Once it becomes natural, your entire experience of life changes. You begin to see opportunities where others hesitate. You begin to act where others remain stuck. You begin to grow where others give up. This is the psychology behind powerful thinking. It is not about avoiding problems. It is about transforming your relationship with them. And that transformation begins with a simple shift from asking why this is happening to asking what can be done next. That question opens the path forward. Chapter 3. The power of perspective. Every situation in life carries more than one meaning. But most people see only one. That meaning is not fixed. It is created by perspective. Perspective is the mental position from which you view reality. Change the position, and the meaning changes. Powerful minds understand this deeply. They know that what appears negative at first glance may contain hidden value, and what appears positive may carry hidden risk. They do not rush to conclusions. They shift angles. Ability to shift perspective is one of the strongest tools a person can develop, because it allows them to see beyond the obvious. Consider a simple example. Rain begins suddenly during the day. One person becomes frustrated. Their plans are disturbed. Their mood drops. Another person feels relief. The weather becomes cooler. The environment Feels fresh, the rain is the same, but the experience is different. This shows that events do not control feelings directly, interpretation does now. Consider a more serious situation. A person is rejected from a job they really wanted, from one perspective. This is failure, a lost opportunity, a reason to feel discouraged. From another perspective, this is redirection. It may mean that the job was not the right fit, or that something better is still ahead, or that more preparation is needed. Many people who later succeed look back at rejection as a turning point, not because rejection was pleasant, but because it forced them to adjust direction. Perspective does not change the fact, but it changes its role in your life. Powerful minds are trained to search for useful perspectives. They ask, is there another way to look at this? That question creates flexibility, and flexibility leads to better decisions. Take another real-life example. Two individuals start learning a new skill. In the beginning, both struggle. The first person thinks, this is too difficult. I am not made for this. They see struggle as a sign to stop. Second person thinks, this is challenging, but this is how learning works. They see struggle as part of progress. The first person quits early. The second continues. After some time, the second person improves, while the first remains at the same level. The difference again is perspective. One sees difficulty as a barrier. The other sees it as a process. Powerful minds adopt perspectives that support growth, not because they ignore reality, but because they choose interpretations that lead to action. Another important aspect of perspective is time. Most people judge situations based only on the present moment. If something feels bad now, they assume it will remain bad. Powerful minds think across time. They consider how this situation may look in the future. Something painful today may become valuable later. Consider the example of a person going through a tough training program. In the film moment, it feels exhausting, stressful, and uncomfortable, but from a future perspective, it becomes skill, strength, an opportunity. By holding both present and future perspectives, powerful minds stay committed even during difficulty. Let us look at another situation. A person receives harsh criticism. From one perspective, this feels like an attack. It hurts confidence and creates resistance. From another perspective, it becomes feedback. It may reveal blind spots, weaknesses, or areas that need improvement. Same words can either damage or develop a person, depending on perspective. This does not mean all criticism is correct, but it means every situation can be examined for value. Powerful minds extract value even from uncomfortable experiences. Another example can be seen in failure. Failure is one of the most misunderstood experiences from a limited perspective. Failure means inability. It becomes something to avoid. From a broader perspective, failure becomes information. It shows what did not work and why this information is necessary for improvement. Many inventions, skills, and achievements were built on repeated failure. Those who succeeded were not free from failure. They simply saw it differently. Perspective also influences emotional strength. When a person believes a problem is permanent, they feel helpless. They see it as temporary. They feel motivated to act. For example, a person facing financial difficulty may think this situation will never change. This belief creates hopelessness. But if they think this is a phase and it can be improved step by step, they begin to look for solutions. The external situation may be the same, but the internal energy changes. That energy drives action. Another important dimension of perspective is comparison. Many people compare their situation with others in a negative way. They see what others have and feel lacking. Powerful minds use comparison differently. They observe others for learning, not for self-judgment. Instead of thinking I am behind, they think, what can I learn from this? This keeps their focus on growth rather than insecurity. Let us take one more example. An employee is given a difficult project. From one perspective, this feels like pressure, extra work, and risk of failure. From another perspective, it becomes an opportunity, a chance to learn, to prove ability, and to grow professionally. Those who accept such challenges often move ahead faster. not because the task was easy, but because they saw its potential perspective. Shapes, decision, decision shapes, action, action shapes results. Change begins in the mind. Powerful minds do not wait for perfect situations. They create advantage by choosing strong perspectives. This does not mean forcing yourself to feel positive all the time. It means choosing interpretations that keep you moving forward, even in difficult situations. Even when things are uncertain, perspective is a skill. It improves with practice. Each time you face a situation, pause and ask, what are the different ways to see this? Which perspective helps me grow? Which one keeps me stuck? Choose the one that creates movement over time. This becomes natural, and when it becomes natural, you begin to notice something important. Opportunities are always present. They were simply hidden behind limited perspectives. This is the power of perspective. It does not change the world instantly, but it changes how you interact with it, and that changes everything. Chapter 4, Emotional Control, the foundation of powerful thinking. A powerful mind is not one that never feels emotion. It is one that is not controlled by emotion. Emotions are natural. They are part of being human. They give depth to experience. They signal what matters. But when emotions take control, thinking becomes narrow. Reactions become impulsive, and problems appear larger than they truly are. This is where most people struggle. They do not fail because of lack of intelligence. They fail because in critical moments, their emotions take over their thinking. Fear, anger, stress, and frustration can cloud judgment. When fear rises, the mind focuses only on danger. When anger rises, the mind focuses only on blame. When stress rises, the mind loses clarity. In these states, solutions become harder to see. Powerful minds understand this pattern. They know that before solving any external problem, they must first manage their internal state, because a disturbed mind cannot think clearly. Emotional control is not suppression. It does not mean ignoring what you feel. It means recognizing emotion, but not allowing it to dictate your decisions. Let us understand this through real situations. A person faces sudden criticism at work. An immediate emotional reaction may be anger. They may respond quickly, defend themselves, or argue. In that moment, the goal is not understanding. It is protecting ego. This often damages relationships and prevents learning. Now, consider a person with emotional control. They still feel the same initial reaction, but they pause. They listen fully. They do not interrupt. They give themselves time before responding later. They analyze the situation calmly. They separate useful feedback from unnecessary negativity. This approach leads to growth and maintains professionalism. The difference is not absence of emotion. It is control over response. Another example can be seen in failure. A person who fails in an important task may feel disappointed, embarrassed, or even ashamed. If these emotions take control, they may avoid trying again. They may think, I cannot face this again. I will fail again. But a person with emotional control processes these feelings differently. They allow themselves to feel the disappointment, but they do not stay there. They ask what went wrong, what can be improved. They use the emotional experience as fuel, not as a barrier. This is how powerful minds convert emotional energy into action. Let us take another everyday situation. A person is stuck in an unexpected problem, such as a financial issue or a sudden change in plans. Without emotional control, panic begins. The mind jumps to worst-case scenarios. What if everything goes wrong? What if I cannot fix this? This creates stress, and stress reduces the ability to think clearly. With emotional control, the person first stabilizes their mind. They take a moment. They slow their breathing. They reduce the intensity of their reaction. Once calm, they begin to think logically. What is the exact problem? What options are available? What is the next step? The situation has not changed, but their ability to handle it has improved. This is the real power of emotional control. It creates space between feeling and action, and in that space, better decisions are made. Powerful minds train themselves to create this space At first, it is difficult. Emotions feel immediate and strong, but with practice, the gap between reaction and response becomes wider, and within that gap, control develops. Another important aspect is awareness. Many people are not aware of their emotional patterns. They react automatically. They do not notice when fear takes over or when anger shapes their words. Powerful minds observe themselves. They notice their internal state. They can say, I am feeling stressed right now. I am reacting emotionally. This awareness alone reduces intensity, because when you observe an emotion, you are no longer completely controlled by it. Let us look at another example. Two athletes lose an important match. The first athlete becomes overwhelmed with frustration. They focus on the loss, blame external factors, and lose motivation. The second athlete feels the same frustration, but handles it differently. They allow the emotion to settle and review their performance. Identify mistakes, adjust training, and prepare for the next competition. Over time, the second athlete improves, while the first remains stuck again. The difference is emotional control. Powerful minds also understand that emotions can be used positively. Not all strong emotions are negative. Determination, passion, and focus are also emotional forces. When controlled properly, they drive effort and persistence. For example, a person who feels strongly about achieving a goal can use that energy to stay consistent. But if that same emotion turns into pressure or fear, it can become harmful. Control ensures that emotion supports action instead of disrupting it. Another key point is that emotional control improves relationships. When a person reacts without control, they may say things they later regret. They may damage trust, create conflict, and weaken connections. A person with emotional control communicates more effectively. They listen, they respond thoughtfully, and they handle disagreement with maturity. This builds respect, and strong relationships create opportunities in both personal and professional life. Let us consider one more situation. A leader faces a crisis in their team. Without emotional control, they may panic, blame others, and create confusion. With emotional control, they remain steady, assess the situation, guide the team, and focus on solutions. This stability influences everyone around them. People trust calm leadership, and trust is essential during difficult times. Emotional control is not built in one day. It develops through consistent practice. Each time you feel a strong emotion, you have an opportunity to react immediately or pause and observe. That pause may be small at first, but it is powerful. It allows thinking to return, and when thinking returns, solutions become visible. Powerful minds are not free from emotion. They feel deeply, but they think clearly. They understand that emotion is a signal, not a command. They listen to it, learn from it, but do not surrender to it. This balance creates strength, because life will always present challenges, unexpected situations, and emotional moments. But with control, these moments do not become obstacles. They become opportunities to respond wisely. This is the foundation of powerful thinking. A calm mind, a clear perspective, and the ability to act with intention. Without emotional control, even simple problems feel overwhelming. With emotional control, even complex problems become manageable. And this ability, once developed, changes every area of life. Chapter 5. The habit of asking better questions. Quality of a person's life is deeply connected to the quality of the questions they ask themselves. Most people do not realize this, but their thinking is guided by silent questions running in the background of their mind. When something goes wrong, the mind immediately asks, why is this happening to me? Why am I so unlucky? Why does nothing work? These questions may feel natural, but they lead the mind in a negative direction. They focus attention on blame, on helplessness, and on things that cannot be controlled. As a result, the person feels stuck. Powerful minds ask different questions. They do not ignore difficulty, but they guide their thinking in a more useful direction. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me, they ask, what can I learn from this? What can I do next? how can I improve this situation? This shift changes everything because the brain always tries to answer the questions it receives. If you ask a limiting question, you will get a limiting answer. If you ask a powerful question, you open the door to solutions. You must understand this through a real example. A person loses an important opportunity with weak questioning. The thoughts may be, why do I always fail? Why am I not good enough? These questions damage confidence and reduce motivation. Now consider strong questioning. What was missing in my preparation? What can I improve for the next opportunity? What steps can I take right now? The situation is the same, but the mental direction changes. The person moves from self-doubt to action. Another example can be seen in daily challenges. A student struggles to understand a subject. Weak questions may look like, why is this so hard? Why can I not understand this? These questions create frustration. Strong questions look like, which part is confusing? How can I break this into smaller steps? Who can help me understand this better? These questions create clarity. Clarity leads to progress. Powerful minds build a habit of asking better questions, not only in big situations, but in small, everyday moments. Because habits are formed through repetition. Every time you face a difficulty, you have a choice. Ask a question that traps you or ask a question that moves you forward. At first, this requires conscious effort. You may notice your mind automatically asking negative questions. That is normal, but once you become aware, you can replace them. Let us take another real-life situation. A person faces rejection in a relationship or friendship. Weak questioning maybe, why does this always happen to me? Why am I not valued? This creates emotional pain and self-doubt. Strong questioning becomes, what did I learn from this experience? What kind of relationships do I truly want? How can I grow from this? This does not remove the pain immediately, but it gives it purpose. And when pain has purpose, it becomes easier to handle. Another important aspect is that powerful questions focus on control. Weak questions focus on things outside your control. Why did they do this? Why is the situation unfair? Strong questions focus on what you can control. As my next step, how can I respond better? What can I change? This shift gives a sense of power, and that sense of power increases confidence. Let us look at a practical example. A person is trying to improve their health. They fail to stay consistent with exercise. Weak questions may be, why am I so lazy? Why can I not stay disciplined? These questions create guilt. Strong questions look like, what is stopping me from being consistent? How can I make this easier? What small step can I take today? These questions lead to solutions. Maybe the problem is not motivation, but schedule or environment or unrealistic expectations. By asking the right question, the real issue becomes visible. Powerful minds understand that the first answer is not always the best. Keep questioning. They go deeper. For example, instead of stopping at what went wrong, they ask, why did it go wrong? What pattern can I see? How can I prevent this in the future? This layered questioning leads to deeper understanding, and deeper understanding leads to better decisions. Another key point is that questions shape focus. Whatever you ask, your mind starts searching for. If you constantly ask what is missing, you will notice lack. If you ask what is working, you will notice progress. This does not mean ignoring problems. It means balancing awareness with constructive focus. Let us consider one more situation. An employee feels stuck in their career. Weak questioning may be, why am I not growing? Why does nothing change? This leads to frustration without direction. Strong questioning becomes, what skills do I need to move forward? What opportunities can I create? Who can guide me? These questions create movement. Movement creates change. Powerful minds do not wait for answers to appear automatically. They search for them actively. And the search begins with the right question. There is also an important emotional effect. Weak questions increase stress. They make problems feel larger. Strong questions reduce stress. They break problems into manageable parts. For example, instead of thinking, how will I solve everything, a powerful mind asks, what is the next Small step this makes the situation less overwhelming, and small steps lead to progress. Another example, a person facing a difficult decision may feel confused. Weak questioning keeps them stuck. What if I choose wrong? What if this fails? Strong questioning brings clarity. What are the possible outcomes? What matters most to me? What choice aligns with my long-term goals? This leads to thoughtful decisions. Over time, this habit of questioning becomes automatic. You begin to guide your thinking naturally. Instead of feeling trapped, you feel engaged. Instead of feeling helpless, you feel capable. This is not because life becomes easier, but because your approach becomes stronger, powerful. Minds are not defined by having all the answers. They are defined by asking the right questions, because the right questions lead to discovery, to learning, and to growth. Every problem you face contains hidden answers. Those answers are revealed only when you ask in the right ways. Or the next time you face a challenge, pay attention to your questions. They are shaping your direction. Change the question, and you begin to change the outcome. This is the quiet power behind solution thinking. It begins not with answers, but with better questions. Chapter 6. Turning problems into opportunities. Every problem carries two possibilities. Can either stop you or it can shape you. Most people see only the first option. They feel blocked. They feel limited. They wait for the problem to disappear. Powerful minds see the second option. They understand that problems are not just obstacles. They are raw material, something that can be used, something that can be transformed, something that can lead to growth. This way of thinking does not come naturally. It is developed through awareness and practice, because the first reaction to a problem is usually resistance. This should not be happening. This is difficult. This is unfair. But powerful minds move beyond this reaction. They ask a different question. What can this give me? That question changes the direction of thought. Let us understand this through a real-life example. A person loses a job unexpectedly. At first it feels like a major setback. Income is affected. Confidence is shaken. Uncertainty increases. Most people focus only on the loss, but some individuals use this moment differently. They take time to reflect. They ask, was this job helping me grow? What skills do I actually have? What direction do I truly want? For some, this becomes the starting point of a new path. They learn new skills. They explore different opportunities. They build something of their own. What began as a problem becomes a turning point, not because the situation was easy, but because it was used differently. Another example can be seen in failure. A student fails an important test. A reaction is to feel defeated, to lose confidence, and to avoid trying again. But another reaction is to treat failure as feedback. The student reviews mistakes, identifies weak areas, and changes their study approach over time. This leads to improvement. If failure becomes a guide, powerful minds do not waste problems. They extract value from them. They understand that every difficulty contains information about what is not working, information about what needs to change, information about what can be improved. This information is useful, but only if it is used. Let us take another everyday situation. A person faces a conflict in a relationship. The problem creates tension, misunderstanding, and emotional discomfort. Most people focus on blame. They think the other person is wrong. This should not have happened. But a powerful thinker looks deeper. They ask, what caused this misunderstanding? How can communication improve? What can be learned about expectations? This approach does not ignore the issue, but it transforms it into an opportunity for stronger understanding. Relationships often grow stronger after honest reflection, because problems reveal what was hidden. Another example, a small business experiences a drop in sales. This creates pressure, financial stress, and uncertainty. A reactive approach focuses on the problem. Customers are not coming. The market is bad. Nothing can be done. A solution-oriented approach studies the situation. What has changed in customer behavior? What improvements can be made? What new strategies can be tested? Many Successful businesses improved during difficult times because they were forced to adapt. The problem pushed them to innovate. Without the problem, they may have remained the same. This shows an important truth. Problems often force growth, push you out of comfort. They demand new thinking. They create urgency, and urgency leads to action. Powerful minds use this pressure. They do not avoid it, they channel it. Another important point is that opportunities are not always visible immediately. Sometimes a problem feels purely negative at first. Benefit becomes clear only later. For example, a person may face rejection from an opportunity they strongly wanted. At that moment, it feels disappointing. But later, they may find a better opportunity or develop skills that lead to something greater. Many people look back at difficult moments and realize that problem changed my direction in a positive way. This does not mean every problem will lead to success automatically. It means every problem has the potential, and that potential depends on how it is used. Let us look at another situation. A person wants to improve their physical health, but struggles with consistency. The problem is lack of discipline. Instead of feeling guilty, a powerful thinker analyzes the situation. What is making this difficult? Is the goal too large? Is the routine unrealistic? Is the environment not supportive? By understanding the problem, they adjust their approach. They start with smaller steps. They create a better routine. They remove obstacles. Problem becomes a guide for improvement. Another example, an employee feels stuck in their career. The problem is lack of growth. A passive approach leads to frustration. Nothing is changing this situation. Is limiting. A powerful approach asks, what skills do I need? What opportunities can I create? How can I expand my value? This leads to action, learning new skills, seeking new roles, or even changing direction. The problem becomes a signal that shows that change is needed. That signal leads to progress. Powerful minds also understand that not all problems are external. Some are internal. Self-doubt, fear, procrastination. These are also problems, but they can be transformed. For example, fear can stop action, but it can also be used as a sign that something matters. Instead of avoiding it, a person can prepare more, practice more, and move forward carefully. The fear becomes energy. Another key aspect is resilience. When a person learns to turn problems into opportunities, they become stronger over time. Each challenge handled successfully builds confidence, not the confidence that life will be easy, but the confidence that difficulties can be managed. This type of confidence is powerful because it is based on experience. You consider one more example. A person faces a major setback in life. It could be financial, professional, or personal. At first it feels overwhelming, but step by step they begin to rebuild. They learn new lessons. They develop new strengths. They gain a deeper understanding of life over time. They become more capable than before. The problem did not destroy them, it shaped them. This is the essence of powerful thinking. Problems are not just barriers, they are builders. Build strength, they build clarity, they build direction, but only for those who use them. This chapter highlights an important shift from avoiding problems to using them, from resisting difficulty to learning from it, from feeling stuck to creating movement. This shift is not instant, but it is possible. Every time you face a problem, you are given a choice. See it as an obstacle or see it as an opportunity. That choice determines your path over time. These choices shape your mindset. Your mindset shapes your life. Powerful minds are not free from problems, are skilled at transforming them, and that skill creates progress even in the most difficult situations. Chapter 7. The discipline of consistent thinking. Powerful thinking is not a one-time effort. It is a discipline practiced daily. Many people understand the idea of positive or solution-based thinking, but they fail to apply it consistently. They think strongly for a short time, then return to old patterns. This is why real change does not happen, because the mind follows what is repeated, not what is understood once. Consistency is what transforms thinking into strength. A powerful mind is built the same way physical strength is built, through repetition, through effort, and through time. You cannot think effectively only when problems appear. You must train your mind even in normal situations, so that when difficulty comes, your thinking remains steady. Let us understand this through a simple example. A person decides to improve their mindset. For a few days, they stay aware. They control their reactions. They try to think positively. But after some time, they become careless. They stop observing their thoughts. They react automatically again. Soon, they return to their old habits. This is not failure. It is lack of consistency. Now consider a different approach. Another person makes the same decision. But instead of trying to change everything at once, they focus on daily practice. Every day they observe their thoughts. Every day they correct negative patterns. Every day they ask better questions. The progress may feel slow, but it is steady. Over time, this consistency creates a new mental habit, and once a habit is formed, it becomes natural. This is how powerful thinking develops. It is not about intensity, it is about repetition. Another important aspect is that consistency builds trust in yourself. When you repeatedly act with discipline, you begin to trust your own actions. For example, a person who consistently works toward a goal, even in small steps, develops confidence. Not because results appear instantly, but because they know they can rely on themselves. This self-trust is essential. Without it, even good ideas remain unused. Let us take a real-life situation. A student wants to improve academically. They study hard for a few days, then lose focus, then start again, then stop again. This irregular pattern produces weak results. Another student studies with consistency. Even if the effort is moderate, they show up daily. They review, they practice, they improve step by step. Over time, the consistent student performs better. Not because they are more talented, but because they are more disciplined. The same principle applies to thinking. If you practice solution thinking, only sometimes it will not become strong. You must apply it repeatedly, in small situations and daily challenges and routine decisions, so that it becomes automatic. Another example, a person wants to control their emotions. They try to stay calm during one difficult situation, but lose control in another. This happens because control is not yet a habit. A disciplined approach means practicing calm thinking regularly, in conversations and small frustrations, in daily stress. Over time, this builds emotional stability, and when a major challenge appears, the person is prepared. Consistency also reduces mental confusion. When your thinking pattern is stable, you make decisions more easily. You do not keep changing direction. You do not lose focus. This clarity saves time and energy. Let us consider another situation. A person wants to build a business. They work with energy for a short period, then lose motivation, then start again. This creates slow progress. Another person works consistently. Even when motivation is low, they continue. Even when results are not visible, they continue. This steady effort leads to growth, because progress is built daily, not occasionally. Powerful minds understand that motivation is temporary. Discipline is reliable. They do not depend on feeling ready. They act even when it is difficult. This does not mean forcing yourself without rest. It means maintaining direction. Even small actions count. Another key point is that consistency simplifies problems. When you take regular action, problems remain manageable. When you delay, problems grow larger. For example, if a person manages their finances consistently, tracking expenses, planning ahead, they avoid major stress. If they ignore it, small issues become serious problems. The same applies to learning, health, relationships, and personal growth. Consistency prevents complexity. Another important benefit is momentum. When you act consistently, you build momentum. Momentum makes action easier. Once you are in motion, continuing becomes natural. But if you stop frequently, you lose that momentum, and starting again becomes difficult. Powerful minds protect their momentum. They do not allow long gaps in effort. Even if progress is slow, they keep moving. Let us take another example. A person wants to develop a new skill. If they practice occasionally, they forget. They lose progress. They feel frustrated. If they practice regularly, even for a short time, each day, they improve steadily. Skill development is not about occasional effort. It is about continuous effort. The same is true for thinking you must practice. Seeing solutions again and again until it becomes your default response. Another aspect of discipline is patience. Consistent thinking does not produce instant results. At times it may feel like nothing is changing, but change is happening slowly. Just like a seed grows beneath the surface, before becoming visible, powerful minds trust this process. They do not quit because results are delayed. They understand that lasting change takes time. Let us consider one more situation. A person decides to improve their life. They expect quick results. When progress feels slow, they become discouraged. This leads to inconsistency. But a disciplined thinker focuses on the process. They measure effort, not just results. They value daily improvement. Over time, this approach leads to real transformation because consistency multiplies effort. Small actions repeated daily become significant. Small improvements repeated over time become major growth. This is how powerful minds are built, not through sudden change, but through steady practice. This chapter highlights a simple but important truth. Thinking is a habit. Chapter 8, Learning from Failure Without Losing Direction. Failure is one of the most powerful experiences in life, yet it is also one of the most feared most. People try to avoid failure because they associate it with loss, embarrassment, and weakness. Powerful minds see failure differently. They do not see it as the end. They see it as part of the process. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is a step toward it. The problem is not failure itself. The problem is how people respond to it. A weak response turns failure into a stopping point. A strong response turns failure into a learning point. This difference defines progress. You begin with a simple example. A student fails an important exam. The emotional impact is strong disappointment, stress, and self-doubt. If the student focuses only on the result, they may think, I am not capable. I cannot do this. This leads to loss of confidence and reduced effort. But a student with a powerful mindset responds differently. They accept the result, but they do not attach it to their identity. They ask, where did I make mistakes? Which topics were weak? How can I prepare better? They analyze, they adjust, they try again. The failure becomes information, and information leads to improvement. This is the key difference. Powerful minds separate failure from identity. They do not say, I am a failure. They say, this attempt failed. This small shift protects confidence because identity remains strong while performance is improved. Another example can be seen in business. An entrepreneur starts a venture, but it does not succeed. Money is lost, effort is wasted, and results are disappointing. Many people stop at this point. They think this proves I cannot succeed. But experienced entrepreneurs treat failure as education. They review every detail. What went wrong? What decisions were weak? What assumptions were incorrect? Learn from the experience, and when they start again, they are better prepared. Many successful businesses were built after multiple failed attempts, not because failure is desirable, but because it provides valuable lessons. Another important aspect is emotional recovery. Failure often creates strong emotions, disappointment, frustration, and even fear. If these emotions are not managed, they can block future action. Powerful minds allow themselves to feel. They do not ignore emotion, but they do not stay trapped in it. They give themselves time to recover. Then they return to thinking. This balance is important because ignoring emotion leads to pressure, and staying in emotion leads to stagnation. Learning requires stability. Let us take another real-life situation. Athlete loses an important competition. The loss is painful. They may feel they let themselves down or others down. If they remain focused only on the loss, their motivation decreases. But if they review the performance, they find areas to improve. They adjust training, they work harder, they return stronger. Many great athletes became champions after experiencing repeated losses. Their strength came not from avoiding failure, but from learning through it. Another key point is that failure provides clarity. Success sometimes hides weaknesses, but failure exposes them. It shows exactly what needs attention. For example, a person trying to build a skill may believe they are progressing well, but when they face a real test and fail, they realize the gaps in their knowledge. This clarity is valuable because it directs effort more accurately. Powerful minds use failure to refine their approach. Do not repeat the same mistakes. They change strategy. They improve methods. They become more effective. Another important concept is persistence. Failure often tests patience. It creates doubt. It makes a person question their path. This point, many people change direction too quickly, not because the path is wrong, but because the process is difficult. Powerful minds evaluate carefully. They ask, is the goal still meaningful? Is the approach correct? What needs to change? If the direction is right, they continue. If adjustment is needed, they adapt, but they do not give up easily. This balance between persistence and adjustment is critical. You consider another example. A person applies for multiple jobs, but faces repeated rejection. This can be discouraging. They may feel that effort is useless, but a solution-focused approach looks deeper. The application strong? Are the skills aligned with the job? Is there a need for improvement? By adjusting their approach, improving skills, and refining their applications, they increase their chances. Each rejection becomes feedback over time. This leads to success. Another aspect of learning from failure is patience with progress. Improvement does not happen instantly. Takes time, effort, and repeated attempts. Powerful minds accept this. They do not expect perfection. They focus on progress. Even small improvement matters. Let us take one more situation. A person tries to build a habit, such as regular exercise. They start with motivation, but fail to stay consistent. This feels like failure. A weak response is to key. A strong response is to analyze. A goal too large? Was the schedule unrealistic? What made it difficult? By adjusting the plan, they try again. This time with better understanding. Eventually, the habit becomes stable. Failure becomes part of learning. Another key point is that failure builds resilience. Each time a person faces difficulty and continues, they become stronger. Develop the ability to handle pressure. This strength is valuable because life will always present challenges. Resilience ensures that challenges do not break you. They shape you. Powerful minds also understand that failure is temporary. It is a moment, not a permanent state. This perspective prevents hopelessness. It keeps the mind open, and an open mind finds solutions. Let us reflect on a deeper example. Many individuals who achieve success in life have faced major failures. Were rejected, they struggled. They faced setbacks, but they did not stop. They learned, they adapted, they continued. Their journey was not smooth, but it was progressive. This is the reality of growth. It is not a straight line. It includes mistakes, corrections, and improvement. This chapter highlights an essential truth. Failure is not something to fear. It is something to use. It is a teacher, but only for those who are willing to learn. Every failure contains a lesson. Every lesson contains improvement, and every improvement moves you forward. So, the next time you face failure, do not see it as the end. See it as information. Analyze it, learn from it, and continue. Because success is not built by avoiding failure. It is built by learning through it. This is how powerful minds grow. They do not lose direction. When they fail, they refine it, and that refinement leads them closer to success. Chapter 9. The role of focus in seeing solutions. Focus is the lens through which the mind interprets reality. Without focus, thinking becomes scattered. Energy dissipates, and problems feel overwhelming. Most people allow their attention to wander. They think about multiple worries at once. They jump between tasks, and their mind becomes cluttered. This lack of focus magnifies problems, makes obstacles feel larger, solutions feel distant, and challenges feel unsolvable. Powerful minds, on the other hand, cultivate focus deliberately. They understand that attention is energy. Where attention flows, results follow. If attention is fixed on problems, worry grows, anxiety increases, and clarity diminishes. If attention is directed at solutions, ideas emerge, options appear, and progress becomes possible. Let us begin with a practical example. A student preparing for an exam may feel overwhelmed. There are too many topics, too much to study, and limited time. A scattered mind jumps between chapters, reviews notes randomly, and thinks about distractions. This approach magnifies. Stress reduces efficiency and makes success feel distant. Now consider a focused approach. The student identifies key areas, prioritizes study topics, creates a structured schedule, and concentrates fully on one section at a time. Progress becomes visible, confidence increases, and the feeling of overwhelm diminishes. Focus transforms how problems are experienced. Another example can be seen in the workplace. A professional faces a complex project. Without focus, they juggle multiple tasks, simultaneously react to interruptions, and feel constant pressure. Problem seems unsolvable, deadlines appear impossible, and stress rises. A focused approach changes everything. They break the project into manageable parts, allocate attention to one task at a time, and avoid distractions. Step by step, the project moves forward. Solutions emerge naturally, and progress becomes measurable. Focus also amplifies creativity. When the mind is scattered, it cannot see patterns. It cannot connect ideas. When the mind concentrates, it finds links, identifies opportunities, and discovers solutions. Others misconsider an inventor working on a complex design. If they allow constant interruptions, their creativity stagnates. They focus deeply on the problem, ideas surface, experiments succeed, and innovation occurs. Focus is closely tied to discipline, a mind that is consistent in thinking, as discussed in the previous chapter, naturally becomes more focused. Regular practice strengthens attention, reduces mental wandering, and improves problem-solving ability. Another aspect of focus is emotional filtering. When attention is focused, emotional reactions are more manageable. The mind is less influenced by fear, stress, or frustration. It sees the situation clearly and identifies actionable steps. For example, a manager faces conflict between team members. A scattered mind reacts to the emotions of each person, gets distracted by complaints, and feels overwhelmed. Focused mind identifies the core issues, listens actively, and guides the team towards solutions. Focus also helps in prioritization. Many problems feel urgent, but not all are equally important. Without focus, energy is wasted on minor issues, while critical challenges are neglected. With focus, the most impactful problems are addressed first, and progress accelerates. Consider another real-life scenario. An entrepreneur launches a startup. Multiple challenges arise simultaneously: finances, marketing, product development. A scattered mind tries to address everything at once. Progress is slow, and frustration grows. A focused approach prioritizes high-impact areas, allocates attention strategically, and systematically resolves key challenges. This targeted energy produces tangible results. Also interacts with the habit of asking better questions. A focused mind asks questions relevant to the current problem instead of broad or abstract questions. It asks actionable and specific questions. For example, instead of asking, "Why am I failing?" a focused mind asks, "What is the single most important step I can take today to improve results?" This type of questioning guides immediate action. Another important point is that focus reduces distraction from negativity. Many people are influenced by fear, doubt, or opinions of others. These distractions fragment attention and prevent problem solving. A powerful mind shields focus from external noise. It chooses where to direct attention, ignores irrelevant information, and channels energy toward constructive action. Let us look at another example. A Person planning a career transition may hear discouraging advice. Without focus, they dwell on doubts, they question their ability, and momentum slows. With focus, they concentrate on research, skill building, networking, and actionable steps external. Negativity becomes less influential, and progress continues. Focus also enhances learning from failure. Attention is directed carefully, mistakes are analyzed, lessons are extracted, and strategies are refined. Without focus, failure becomes overwhelming. Lessons are lost and patterns repeat. Consider an athlete training for a competition. A scattered athlete practices inconsistently, wastes energy on irrelevant techniques, and fails to see improvement. A focused athlete identifies weaknesses, targets practice deliberately, and steadily improves. This is how focus turns challenges into growth. Another aspect of focus is long-term vision. Powerful minds do not allow immediate obstacles to distract from larger goals. Even when problems are present, attention remains anchored to purpose. For example, a business owner faces a temporary market setback. A scattered mind panics, considers quitting, and loses sight of long-term potential. A focused mind analyzes the setback, adjusts strategy, and keeps pursuing the overarching goal. Focus creates resilience, clarity, and direction. It allows the mind to see solutions where others see chaos. It transforms overwhelming problems into actionable steps. It enables progress even under pressure. This chapter emphasizes a central truth. Attention is energy. Focus is the discipline of directing that energy toward what matters most. Without it, problems dominate. With its, solutions emerge powerful. Minds are not distracted by every challenge. They concentrate on what moves them forward. And through this focused energy, they create results, grow continuously, and see opportunities where others see only obstacles. Chapter 10, taking responsibility. The gateway to solutions. Powerful minds understand that taking responsibility is the foundation of all progress. Responsibility is not about blame, it is about ownership. Many people fail to see solutions because they look outward for causes. They say this happened because of someone else. The situation is unfair. I have no control. This mindset creates helplessness. When you believe the world controls you, your mind stops searching for solutions. It focuses on complaints, on excuses, and on reasons why nothing can change. Powerful minds choose differently. Recognize that while they cannot control every circumstance, they can control their response. They ask, what part of this can I influence? What can I do to improve the situation? This simple shift transforms helplessness into power. Let us consider a practical example. A person struggles at work because of a difficult colleague. One approach is to blame the colleague, complain to others, and wait for things to improve. This mindset prolongs frustration and keeps the person stuck. A responsible approach asks, can I manage my interactions effectively? How can I communicate clearly? How can I influence outcomes positively? Taking responsibility, they regain control. They find solutions, and the situation improves. Another example is personal growth. Many people blame circumstances for their lack of progress. I do not have resources. I do not have support. I do not have time. These thoughts limit action. A powerful mind acknowledges reality, but asks, what can I do with what I have? What small steps can I take today? How can I leverage my strengths? This mindset produces consistent action. Another aspect of responsibility is accepting failure. Weak minds avoid responsibility when things go wrong. They blame others. They feel victimized. They avoid learning. Powerful minds take responsibility even in failure. They ask, what did I contribute to this outcome? What could I have done differently? What can I improve next time? This approach turns failure into information and information into growth. Consider an athlete who loses an important match. They can blame the opponent, the referee, or luck. They can take responsibility for preparation, technique, and mental focus. By owning their part, they gain insight, they improve performance, and they increase their chances of future success. Taking responsibility also strengthens confidence when you know you can influence outcomes even partially. You feel empowered. When you feel empowered, you act decisively and action produces results. Another example is financial management. Many people feel overwhelmed by debt or lack of savings, blame the economy, their upbringing, or other people. This mindset creates stress and inaction. A responsible approach examines spending habits, income sources, and financial decisions. They take control of what they can, create a plan, and act consistently. Time this produces results. Powerful minds also understand that responsibility is proactive. They do not wait for problems to resolve themselves. They act before situations become critical. For example, a student noticing gaps in understanding takes extra practice early. A professional anticipating challenges prepares solutions in advance. A business owner responding to market changes adapts quickly. This proactive responsibility prevents many problems from growing. Another important aspect is accountability. Powerful minds hold themselves accountable, track progress, review results, and adjust when necessary. They do not rely on others to motivate or correct them. Accountability ensures continuous improvement. Let us consider relationships. Many conflicts arise when people refuse responsibility. Blame accumulates, communication breaks down, and problems intensify. A responsible approach examines personal contribution. How did my words affect this situation? How can I improve communication? What can I do to rebuild trust? This approach reduces conflict and opens paths to solutions. Another real-life example is health. Many people neglect their well-being. They blame genetics, busy schedules, or other responsibilities. A responsible mindset evaluates choices. What can I eat differently? How can I exercise? What habits can I change? Ownership leads to action, and action leads to results. Taking responsibility also enhances learning from mistakes. You accept responsibility. You analyze what went wrong. You find solutions, and you prevent repetition. If you avoid responsibility, you remain stagnant. Problems repeat and opportunities are lost. Another key point is that responsibility creates independence. Those who rely on circumstances or others are vulnerable. Those who take responsibility, rely on themselves, can act regardless of external conditions. This mindset strengthens resilience. Let us consider a more complex scenario. A leader faces organizational failure. Blaming team members creates resentment, reduces trust, and slows recovery. Taking responsibility inspires confidence, shows integrity, and encourages collective problem-solving. Powerful minds also understand that responsibility is a mindset, is not a burden. It is freedom. Freedom comes from knowing you can influence outcomes, that you are not helpless, that action produces change. This mindset changes how problems are perceived. Instead of obstacles, they become challenges to overcome. Instead of threats, they become opportunities to act. Over time, this mindset transforms life, because those who take responsibility consistently see solutions faster, act decisively, and create progress in every area of life. This chapter emphasizes a fundamental truth: ownership of thought, ownership of action, and ownership of outcomes. These are the keys to moving from problem-focused thinking to solution-focused thinking. Powerful minds do not wait for permission. They do not wait for perfect conditions. Act where they can. They influence what is possible, and they create results. Responsibility is not optional. It is the gateway to solutions. Without it, the mind remains trapped. In reaction with it, the mind becomes proactive, capable, and unstoppable. And through this practice of ownership, every problem becomes a stepping stone. Every challenge becomes a lesson, and every obstacle becomes an opportunity to grow. Conclusion: seeing solutions where others see problems. Powerful minds are not born immune to challenges. They are not gifted with effortless clarity. They do not avoid failure or fear. What makes them different is how they respond to life. They see what others miss, not because circumstances are easier, but because their thinking is trained. Throughout this journey, we have explored the qualities that distinguish solution-oriented minds: emotional control, allows calm observation in the face of difficulty, turning overwhelming stress into clear thinking. Asking better questions guides the mind toward actionable insight, transforming confusion into direction. Viewing problems as opportunities converts setbacks into stepping stones, revealing potential where others see only obstacles. Discipline and consistent practice strengthen thinking, creating habits that turn challenges into automatic growth. Learning from failure without losing direction builds resilience, allowing lessons to be extracted from every experience. Focus channels attention, multiplying energy toward solutions and preventing distraction by irrelevant problems. Taking responsibility empowers action, placing control where it belongs within the individual and transforming helplessness into agency. When these qualities combine, the mind becomes a tool of creation rather than a victim of circumstance. Powerful minds see solutions because they cultivate perspective, because they understand the rules of thought, because they act deliberately. Even when life is uncertain, they do not wait for conditions to be perfect. They create possibilities within imperfection. Life will always present difficulties, unexpected twists, and apparent failures. But those who see solutions do not see the end. They see opportunity, they see learning, they see the next step forward. This perspective changes everything. It turns challenges into growth, losses into lessons, and obstacles into pathways. It is a mindset, a practice, and a discipline, and the good news is that it is available to everyone. By training your mind, by managing your emotions, by asking better questions, by taking responsibility, and by practicing consistently, you can see solutions where others see problems. You can act when others hesitate, learn when others quit, and grow when others complain. The difference is not circumstance, it is choice. Every thought you direct, every question you ask, every action you take shapes your ability to find solutions. Powerful minds are not special. They are intentional. They choose to focus on possibility, to act despite fear, and to transform challenges into opportunities. And when you adopt this mindset, you too will begin to see life differently. Problems will still exist, failure will still come, and emotions will still rise. But your response will be different. You will see clarity where others see confusion, opportunity where others see loss, and action where others see limitation. This is the true power of the mind, to turn thought into strategy, fear into courage, and problems into solutions. And that is the mindset that builds success, growth, and fulfillment in every area of life. The end.
Kindly subscribe to my channel.